having me here. My name is Catalina Lopez, and thank you, David, for having me to have this conversation with you guys. And what I want to share with you in a couple of minutes, and I'm going to try and talk fast, so I'm sorry about that, is how we are approaching the way we treat and we focus on innovation for our biomedical students. I'm a medical doctor in my background, and I have been a passionate for technologies and innovation in healthcare for the last 15 years now. And we really think that if we want our students to help us solve the big problems that we have in healthcare, this new approach and these new technologies and this new mindset that is going on out there, it can be really useful, and it could be of great potential for our students in our biomedical engineering department. So this is a little bit about what I'm going to try to explain to you, the approach that we're using in this innovation class that we call exponential medicine. And basically it starts with this context of how the change in the industrial revolution is happening. So basically the difference between all the industrial revolutions that you see on screen is that today, with the fourth and fifth industrial revolution, the power belongs to the people. This is very different from the previous industrial revolutions, where the power of the patents, of the inventions, belong to the big companies, right? So now the power is ours, is for people, and healthcare is not an exception. And of course, the power in healthcare belongs to the patient. Patients are more informed, more empowered every day. This is not new, but as time passes by, patients are more empowered and more independent. And this is important because our role as problem solvers in healthcare has to change and has to take this into account, right? And of course, with this wave of COVID-19, we need to accelerate, and we were obliged and forced to accelerate the innovation and adoption of new technologies in healthcare. And we need to make sure that we know how to serve this new wave and make sure that our students have the right tools to navigate this new ecosystem and this new technology ecosystem. I don't know if you have heard this term, the low-touch economy term. It is really interesting. It was first adopted by the Board of Innovation. And basically what it talks about is that we now live in a world where touching ourselves or touching things is not the best way, right? We need to make sure we can navigate in a world when touching is less important than a couple of years ago. And of course, we now live in a world of abundance. Probably it's not easy to see it after a pandemic, and it's not easy to see that humankind is living its best so far. I know it's hard to understand it, but actually, if you go with a little bit of perspective, we live in a world of abundance, of technology, of information, of knowledge, of resources. A couple of decades ago, or a decade ago, probably the information was not the best, and we struggled with paradigms around, is the information that is out there the best for our patients or not? But I truly believe that today, and as time passes by, the information is getting better, is getting more accurate. The knowledge out there is good, and we need to make sure that the patients get the best information and the best knowledge out there. But if we approach it in an abundance model, we're going to see great things, and there is a lot of potential. And in my past 3 years exploring and hands-on in what I'm going to tell you about, it really works. So this is a little bit about the mindset that we need to share with our students, and we're trying to share with them. And basically, based on a world that has opened before our eyes in terms of exponential technology, there are new, very exciting technologies out there. These are just a couple, just to name a few. And of course, AI and robotics are something that biomedical engineers are very familiar with. So probably in the class, we focus on others that are not that familiar to us, such as blockchain, such as CRISPR-Cas, such as drones, such as immersive technologies, and this new metaverse concept, and how these tools can help our biomedical engineers to solve the problems in a different and more exponential way. And this is, we focus and we explore these tools individually and try to see if they see some potential for healthcare, our students. And beyond technologies, because technologies are there, but in order to use these technologies right and to make sure we take advantage of them properly, we need to disrupt ourselves. And this is a message that we send in the classroom. And how can the students disrupt themselves and become better biomedical engineers in this new crazy world that we're living in? So we focus on three main aspects of disruption: language, mindset, and action. And of course, this is a very shallow program. We don't get that deep, but it's a first glimpse of what they could explore beyond this classroom, and it gives them like this spice in their lives, and that's what we want in this approach. In terms of language, I truly believe personally that we need to disrupt language in healthcare, and for our students, we try to uh, start exploring the possibility of communicating differently in very simple aspects of their lives, how they can communicate better in the classroom, how can they make a presentation more engaging, how can they engage in a conversation in a different and an abundant way. And this is one of the aspects that we try to develop in our classroom. So each time they present, they do a presentation, we engage in terms of abundance in language, and it's important. Why is it important? Because now companies and people are communicating in an exponential and abundance way, and in healthcare we do not do that. This is something that is true communication for me. It's one of the main barriers in healthcare between healthcare providers and the patients. And basically, all companies, if companies as SpaceX, as Salesforce, can change the way they communicate with their ecosystem, why cannot we do it, right? So this is a problem. I think that you can all be uh, aware of that communication is a problem in healthcare, not only in terms of doctors, of physicians. Um, People don't understand what we mean. Patients do not understand anything. So that's why they go to Google. That's why they go to a better source of information where they can have clear information, more empathetic information. And this is a skill that we, as doctors, as biomedical engineers, need to start exploring. And that's something that we don't have. In second place, our mindset. Probably the most different, the most difficult thing to do is change our mindset and to unlearn so many things that we have learned in the past, and to understand which of the things that I have learned helps me for my future and what things do I need to unlearn. And this is another aspect that we treat in the classroom. And it's really interesting because, of course, as you know, skills are changing. The skills that you see on screen are not the skills that we were used to have in the past, and that we were formed to perform. So in this class, we try to start exploring a little bit about these skills, and making sure that students understand that they can develop them, that you're not born with these skills, but they start working on them, right? And this is probably one of the most important topics that we discuss in classes. How do you approach a new idea? If you're a biomedical engineer and you have a challenge and you have an idea to solve this challenge, you need to understand that there is going to be people that are going to hate your idea, people that are going to adopt your idea, and how in your mindset you can navigate through this cycle, right? And making sure you spend 80% of your energy in the left side part of this slide with your innovators, with your early adopters, and not invest the 80% of your energy in laggards. This sounds simple, but it's complicated, and making sure our students that are problem solvers, if they understand this cycle, it's going to be easier for them to navigate in the world that is waiting for them out there, right? This is a concept that I love. This is a concept that, of course, is not mine. All of this is based on topics that are based on Singularity University, a university in Silicon Valley. And this one specifically is from a company called Be Courageous, that tries to teach how to shift into an exponential mindset. And one of their approach is to make sure you disrupt the present from the future, that your ideas come from a future and then you come back to the present. And this is really helpful. So we start learning about prospection. And our students try to design their ideas for their future users and then go back to the present. One easy example that I always use is when our students are faced with challenges around the elderly. They do have some paradigms, and we all do, around how the elderly look like. How does an older person look like, and how they react? How do they act in the real world? But actually, the elderly in a couple of decades are not going to be the same as today. So we try to challenge them to design their ideas and their problem solving, prospecting how their user would be, how an old adult, 80 years old adult will be in 10 years, right? So this is a very important concept and skill that we try to explore in our classroom. And why? All these things is important because in medicine and in healthcare in general, human error is a huge problem. It's normal. We're all humans. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this publication from 2000 that basically states that the main cause of death in the United States and probably in the world is medical error. And of course, technologies are here to help us close this gap. They're not here to replace us, but they're here to help us be better for our patients and for our community. And this mindset, of course, comes with a tool that is a very complicated skill to develop, which are powerful questions. If our students start learning how to do powerful questions, they're going to be open to a world of possibilities. Of course, this is difficult, but the challenges that we face in our region and everywhere in the world in terms of access, and this is something that we have discussed with David a lot. We have a lot of challenges to get better healthcare to our underserved areas in Colombia and in general in Latin America. So if our students are able to propose different questions to approach the problem, probably they're going to have better ideas and will help us approach these problems in a better way. And basically, at the end, what we want is for them to have the skills to overcome frustration when it comes to technologies and to mindset. Because things like this, as you see in the screen, happen all the time. Innovations, technologies have a deception phase, a frustration phase when they're new. And if we as engineers, as problem solvers, do not have the skills to navigate through this frustration, it's not going to happen and we're not going to be exponential, right? So this is a very interesting real paper from the Daily Mail in the United Kingdom from 2000, where it says that internet was not useful at all. And of course, we all know that this is not true. But if you remember how internet worked 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you would understand that it was frustrating. Using internet at first was not the same as using it now. So we need to make sure we have the skill to overcome this frustration and to navigate through this phase. But at the end, we need to make sure that our students understand that this is going to work and this is going to be disruptive. Besides this frustration period, right? And the third part that we focus on is on action, giving them tools to start proposing their ideas and to start from PowerPoint to the real life. And this is not new. Design thinking is not new, but it's new in healthcare. We don't use it as much as we should. And in our class, we try to make sure they understand how to propose an idea, how to empathize with their customer, how to iterate it numbers and numbers of times, so that they, at the end, they have an idea that works for their customer, not for themselves alone. So design thinking is something that we use a lot in our experiments in our classroom, making sure they understand that they cannot work alone, that if they know this and are help where to find partners to bring their ideas into life. And of course, this will start upgrading and upskilling their adaptability. We need to have biomedical engineers that are easy to, that are adaptable to change very easily. We know that this world changes very fast, and it changes faster every time. So they need to be adaptable. I love this concept of leapfrogging and challenging them to go beyond with their ideas, not only for continuous improvement, but how about you take your idea further? And we try to challenge them beyond like the real world, so that they can see and they can manage uncertainty. And it's really interesting seeing them working around these concepts. And at the end, what we want for them is to have an exponential mindset, which is, of course, again, a concept that was brought by Singularity University. I don't want to steal it, but this is something that in practice works really hard, and in healthcare we need it, and we need it now. And we need students, we need biomedical engineers that are capable of working in an exponential world. So that's basically what I wanted to share with you, and hope you enjoyed it. And of course, if you have any questions, I'm here for you. Thank you.
What's her in spirit?
Now, could you tell me a little about who she is?
Yes, she's a medical doctor. Worked in many companies. The last company she worked for, because she's just in the process of going from Boston Scientific to Roche Diagnostics. And she had the exponential medicine innovator, visionary role at Boston Scientific here for the region.
So they have a regional person looking at that.
They have a regional person, and I think that, I have a feeling that this is the kind of position that is very much around the type of person that she is. Because you kind of like hire for that somebody who doesn't have her passion, and if you see her in the flesh, she's exponential to what we saw. She's a good storyteller. She wanted to come and become a teacher here, so she came and taught last semester one course in exponential medicine, and taught the students to